Oh yeah. Whitman would be proud. First stage wash. Still drying up a bit. No, Whitman didn't drive a Panther though. But anyway, still pretty good. Stay tuned for the tutorial.
Hey everybody, hey Gun Steve here, welcome back to Command Centre Wargaming. Check out the channel for all the latest wargaming, tutorials, tips, tactics, all that kind of jazz, and consider subscribing to the channel. So today we're basically going to have a look at the Panther again. Now we've had some comments in the comments section, and I just wanted to actually clarify what pre-shading is. So a lot of people will be saying like, oh Steve, like, you know, like, is that the camouflage? You know, like what steps next and all this kind of stuff like that. So guys, the pre-shading is actually not any camouflage. It's not a coat. It's not even a layer. It's essentially like it's a section that sits underneath the base coat, right? So that's what the pre-shading is, all right? And that's what I'm going to illustrate today in the tutorial, all right? So what you would do, you would go through and you would get the model and you do the pre-shading, and it's kind of like your undercoat in a way, and then you put the layer, like the base coat on top of it, a really thin layer, and what happens is that it kind of fakes light and contrast on the panels and things like that, and gives you the gradient like of the model. Okay, so that's essentially what pre-shading is. Now I will go ahead, I will do camouflage tutorials, things like that, all that jazz, chipping tutorials, everything like that. So like, we've got a few things here. We're going to be working on the Panther again today, like I said, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and do the base coat, and I'm going to show you how I do a base coat on the Panther. Now I've already done one for the Imperial Knight, okay, but for those of you who haven't seen that or basically don't want to watch it, it's also mixed into with some other stuff. I'm just basically going to go through here now and just pure like pre-shading here. Sorry, base coating on the pre-shading here in this tutorial. Now, further this tutorial here, we're going to be going through, I'm going to be using a mix of Dunkelgelb Ost, right? So that's from, this is a MiG, part of the MiG Panzer Late War series, alright, which is absolutely fantastic. I might do a review on this kit a little bit later on, like an individual product review. Let me know in the comments down below if you want me to do that, okay? I'll make it a priority. But I'm actually going to be mixing that colour with German Sea Beige, right, and green ochre. Right, hopefully I've got enough of this stuff left because I literally did my giant King Tiger in it. Alright, so I'm going to be doing a mix of that, and it's very important that we thin it down so that all those contrasts in the pre-shading come up the top of the model, right? So some other things I'm going to be using on this tank is the civil engineering wash and oil sets. Okay, basically go through there, and this is from MiG as well. This is just to do things like grime, mud, like on the tracks, all that kind of stuff. I've also got churned earth soils, right, which we're going to be using on this. And also the German camouflage weathering set, alright? So with a whole bunch of awesome stuff in there, okay, which is fantastic. So yeah, plus a whole lot more, everybody. You know, I've got a lot of stuff here. And like I mentioned in one of my other videos, I started off painting World War II stuff, and I love it. And then I actually was doing that before I found Warhammer when I was a lot younger. So yeah, and remember, all these techniques, all these things in the tutorials I'm doing, they apply totally to Warhammer as well, especially Imperial Guard. I also have some chipping techniques I want to show you as well. Basically, probably not in this tutorial. I was thinking about doing some chipping on this tank in abundance, but then I thought, nah, I just want a little bit of chipping here, and I'll just do that by hand. I'm not going to use any of my chipping fluid or anything like that for that just at this time, because that's for more heavy chipping, and I just don't think the tank has enough you know, sort of like chipping on it to warrant doing that extra step on this model. But I think when I get the King Tiger going, hopefully that does well in bolt action. I'm going to be doing that as well, so it's going to be pretty fantastic. Really loving the bolt action, guys. You've probably noticed I've got the box here, which I want to do a review on soon. The Band of Brothers box starter set just down here, which is awesome. And so it's going to be fantastic. But after this video, I think we will be getting more into the Warhammer content again. It's just because, like I said, I've got a few subscribers who are sort of wanting to know basically what's going on there with the pre-shading. And I don't want you guys to get confused and be like, oh, Steve's painting this awesome sort of like winter camouflage and stuff. I will be doing other tutorials on that, okay? I will literally be doing all sorts of camouflages. I've got books here we're going to go through for inspiration. Some of the books have a little bit of World War II iconography on them. Not much I can do about it. It's the period. So I might upload those to another video server of some kind, just so some, you know, candy head that doesn't get happy and try to, like, you know, get upset over it. You know, so I'll be doing that as well. And some fantastic camouflages and schemes in those books as well. So it's going to be really awesome. Also the subscriber draws will be on tomorrow, so check them out. The Sunday Australian time and date, and we're going to be doing a Primaris, a quick painting to Primaris guide, a batch painting. Probably be Blood Angels. Well, I'll be going through, you know, how to paint up a squad of Primaris Marines above tabletop standard in about 15 minutes, maybe 10-15 minutes. That's what I'm shooting for. It might go longer. I've never actually timed myself painting. Usually a lot of my time comes from edge highlighting. So, but you know, edge highlighting is good, but you know, you're not necessarily going to need it to have a game. So I thought, you know, what's a tutorial that I could do that would serve some purpose, have some value, you know, for the Warhammer community, that hasn't been done and dusted, you know. So like there's 100 edge highlighting tutorials on there. I dare say that like my ones would probably be pretty awesome, and I will do them. But yeah, you know, like I said, we'll see how we go. Now the other thing I wanted to talk about as well, quickly before we jump in the airbrush booth, is I wanted to have a talk about retarder, okay, or retardant. Now, a lot of people go through and they use wet palettes and things like that. It's part of edge highlighting as well. You need to have a very, very, very unique consistency. I'll use the word unique because it's fairly unique. It's not thick, but it's not too thin. It's like got to be spot on for edge highlighting, and especially if you're going to do the edge highlighting over like gradients, like what I do. You've really got to be accurate. So, and I want to talk to you a little bit about retardants. And what retardants do is they basically stop your paint from drying up. So you could basically go through and like have paint sitting there for 5 hours, keeping it the same consistency. So we'll take a look at that in the tutorial as well, and it's going to be fantastic. And I'll see you in there, guys. Wicked. Yeah, cool, guys. So you know, back to the Panther, and I must say that pre-shading is looking pretty lovely. I did a few adjustments to it off camera, just as you look at things. You know, you sort of see things afterwards, I find. So nothing too serious, just a little bit of a cleanup. There are some areas on the Panther that, you know, need a little bit of an adjustment in contrast. You know, some areas that are meant to be probably a little bit grayer, like sort of like underneath here and all that kind of stuff, underneath the turret. But that's fine, because like I said, you know, we're going to be weathering this further. We're going to be, you know, using weathering enamels and things like that. You know, shading, mud, everything like that. So, you know, like I said, the pre-shading is just for the base shading. It's just to make our job a little bit easier later on. It's not the end of the world right now. And I often find that, you know, doing the pre-shading is kind of, you know, you kind of want to keep it pretty, not rough, but basic, you know, because if you go too far detailing, you can often stuff it up. And it can be a lot more work to fix up later. Okay, so yeah, so this is this retarder. Alright, this is an additive to acrylic paint, and this is the stuff I was talking about, and you could basically go through, and this cost me about $26 Australian, so it's probably, you know, going to be a lot cheaper US, and there are different brands, they're all different kind of brands and stuff like that. This is just one I picked up. You know, and essentially what it does is you add a drop, just a tiny little drop of it to your paint, like depending how much paint you have there, and it actually stops your paint. It doesn't stop it, but it slows the drying down of the paint. Okay, now I'm not going to be using this tutorial, but I just wanted to tell you about it because it's actually really fantastic. Some people, like, you know, they use the wet palettes, and like wet palettes are good, 100%. I'm down with wet palettes. You don't see me really use them much because, like, I kind of find that what happens with my wet palette is that I go through and I put paint on there, and it just, you know, I end up changing projects or finishing a project, and I just end up with all this paint on there, and it's just like, yeah, whatever. So and I was talking to the guy at the art shop today, and he's actually one of the national distributors for Vallejo. Now, not the model paint Vallejo, but the normal acrylic paint Vallejo, and I'll get into that in a second in the video. Some other stuff I wanted to talk about, and yeah, and I mean, he was saying, you know, he's saying like with those wet palettes, he goes, look, Steve, you know, I haven't seen those used since like the 90s, man. Like everyone's just using this retarder right here, you know. So so basically, you know, and you go through, you add a drop. Now, the way it works is on a really hot day, you're gonna get like an hour, about an hour, 15, hour and a half out of it without it starting to change consistency. But on a normal day, right? On a normal day, you can literally sit there and have it at the same consistency for like 4 or 5 hours on average, right? That's what's absolutely fantastic about this retarder, and it's so much cheaper than going and buying a wet palette. Like you can make wet palettes. I can do a tutorial on that a little bit later as well. You know, that's absolutely fine as well. But it's kind of like, for me, you know, it's just easier for me to like add a dab of this retarder into the mix and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really good. Just be careful if you're going to use it. Don't add too much. Because you'll end up making the paint too runny. You can always add some, but just be careful with it. And I don't know how it goes for airbrushing. Let me know if you've had any experiences with it for airbrushing. I don't think I'd really be putting it through an airbrush at all. I just use water and stuff like that for this. Mainly why I use retarder and why I'm planning to use it in the future is for edge highlighting. So just when you get that awesome consistency for edge highlighting, you put some retarder in there so you then keep that consistency. So it's not going through and then drying up on you, and then you end up with inconsistent lines. You end up having to, like, 10 minutes later, you know, do the whole thing again, do the whole consistency again, you know, do a whole mix, right? So that's basically why I do it. So now the other thing I wanted to talk about quickly with you today as well, something I found out which might be helpful. So as I was in the art shop, one of the art shops, turns out this guy in one of my local art shops, he's the lead distributor for Vallejo, and he was telling me that okay, so we're all buying these little tiny little tubs of the stuff, right? Now you know, I don't know what people in the US are paying for these, but in Australia we're paying like $5-6 for them. I think they're only like a tiny little bit cheaper than the Games Workshop stuff. Yes, the quality is 100% better, but anyway, it's $5-6, and you get, like, you know, this small little tub, right? Now, what he was saying is that the domestic Vallejo, like the standard art Vallejo, which you can just buy, and I'm thinking about doing like a whole video on this, the Vallejo paint that the artists use is literally like, I don't even have the room on the, it's literally like a bottle, like twice as big as that, right? And you get it for like $20, all right? $20, that's Australian. So you could basically, like, you know, just imagine the amount of money that you're going to be saving there. Now, he's telling me that apparently that paint is also way better quality, all right, because it's used for like fine arts and things like that. And the only thing is the consistency is obviously very thick, you know, compared to our modeling paints. But hey, you know, you got to adjust the consistency anyway. you know, and it's a lot cheaper to do it that way. Right, it's a lot cheaper to do it that way. Now, the only problem is that, like, their color ranges are very limited. All right, so, you know, good luck getting green ochre in you know, in Vallejo, like, you know, sort of commercial Vallejo or domestic Vallejo, or, you know, fine arts Vallejo, whatever you call it. But apparently, like they were saying, look, you know, it's the same paint. It's just bottled differently and sold differently. And then, you know, so it's yeah, so it's something to look into, everybody. If you could find a distributor, or you could find like a seller, or, you know, online or something like that. I'm still looking into it myself, but I'm thinking more on the scale of, like, realms of battles, terrains, you know, large things, you know, like, I mean, they have all the standard colors, like the greens, you know, the blues, like they have, like, you know, kind of like a, not an ultramarine blue, but like their normal blue, which in my opinion is the best blue for ultramarines. It's not the exact shade that goes down with Ultramarines Games Workshop colours, but I actually like it better. But that's just me, so hey, you know, like, whatever. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. Yeah. So all right, so guys, I'm gonna kick into this tutorial here. There's also some other news. There's you know, there's new heavy Primaris troopers coming out, just been released, and also a Games Workshop. There's a Warhammer Adventures cartoon coming out as well, which is, I mean, the cartoon's pretty good quality, but I just feel as though, you know, like, they could have done something a little bit more grimdark, you know, but I'll get into that in another video. Fantastic, everybody. All right, cool. Let's get stuck into the pre-shading of this Panther. All right, finally got it cooking. I just had to take the back of it off and just fiddle around with some settings. There we go, okay. So here I am layering it on. Nice and thin, guys, nice and thin. Okay. Now, it's very important that you keep the paint thin, right, in order for the pre-shading to come through. I'm thinking I might even just thin this paint down just a little bit more, to be honest. Okay, not a super amount, but all right, that's probably looking a lot better now. There we go. Just give it some streaks, let it colour itself. Alright, don't come on too thick with it. You want to keep that shading. Alright, so you can see here, looking at it from the front. Oh, that's let it fall off, but there we go. You can see it's keeping that shading. Alright, so up from back here. I think more water even. Damn, that's a thick paint. Oh, that was close. Alright, let's get the lid on that. Alright, let me just clean this up. So yeah, we really want to let it dry for a bit, right? And then come back to it and then do another layer. Okay. Yeah, this is it. It takes a little bit to get going, but this airbrush is really good for it. Alright, because it sprays it in nice and thin, like good dispersal. So you can see here, so a lot of these areas are keeping that shade. Right, I'm just going to get the back going on. Alright, wonderful. We can do it in the back here as well, down the bottom. We don't really need to, but it can be a good idea. I just watch out for stuff like that. Alright, I think paint is still too thick. We've got to water it down even more. Yep, definitely. Alright, let's do that. Let's water that paint down. It's almost milk. Alright. Give it a good shake in there. Alright, I think that's better. So let's get up on here. Alright, we want to get inside here probably. Keeping a little bit of shading there. Yeah, oh, that's looking nice, guys. That's actually looking really nice. You got to wait for the paint to dry, and then it just starts to sink in. You know, it starts to dry up, come through. All right, now let's do the important part here, which is the top. So, all right, very thin layers here, guys. Very thin layers. All right, I'm gonna be very careful. Actually, let's do this first. Let's do this section first. All right, we can see that. We can see how that white is coming through the yellow. All right. Right, and hold it. Okay. Let that dry for a bit. Guys, like, seriously check that out. Yeah. Right, that's what you want. That's what pre-shading's all about. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry, and while that's drying, I'm going to do the next one. Just move that autofocus down a little more. Alright, can you see how the white is still coming through the actual layer? So just want to move along it in strips and do little circles. Alright, just take your time with it, guys. Well, just watch out, there's a little bit of it. That you got to watch out for. I'll just give that a scrape off. That's alright. So this model, it's not going to matter because I can do rust and stuff on it. Looking very good so far. So hopefully you can see that contrast there on the camera. Alright. Now I'll come back to these. I'm going to let them dry for a bit. Now the all-important top. We all know on miniatures the top is extremely important. Just going up and down the model. Building that paint up. Alright, I want to keep that contrast. Alright, looking good. Alright, so you can start to see now how the tonal variation starts to work. Right, you can start to see how awesome that looks now. How that shading is coming through here on the tank. Right, see how that front element's darker? Come around the side of it. Alright, magnificent. Okay, now the top. Just giving my compressor a bit of a chance to catch up. Alright everybody, had a small disaster. So as I suspected, there was a cloggage in the airbrush there. I added too much water to it and it just exploded on me. But the model was unharmed, which is lucky. Just be very careful that, guys. Just go through, check your consistencies before you start. I just switched airbrush to this guy. Alright, let's get this going.
Right, much better now. Alright, you see I'm getting some really cool consistency on it. Alright, I'm just coming out like way back with it. Okay. Yeah, it's looking nice. It's still looking good, guys. Still looking really good. Just really watch your pressure here. Try to keep those dark areas dark. Alright, I'm gonna leave that now. Let that dry for a bit. I'm gonna come back to this. Although this is pretty good. I don't really need to touch this at all, I reckon. Maybe just the tiniest little bit. Just up on the highlights, just to even the colours up a bit. Yeah, cool. Alright, so you can see here, some absolutely fantastic contrast coming along. Now remember, this isn't me spraying over the top of each other. This is all from my pre-shading. I'm just staying far back. Alright, I think this is pretty good. Wonderful. Alright, back up on the wheels. Cool. Just to equalise a little bit. Just get the bottom. I might as well. I'm here. So, all right, and the sides a little bit as well. So. Very slow, very gently, people. Okay. It's a very nice tank here. Not forget to get under the turret there, but I'm going to do that when it dries. So yeah, hopefully you can see that. Let it dry for a bit. Don't forget about these kind of parts. Although it should be okay, just in case that it doesn't glue together properly. Yeah, it's looking sweet, guys. Looking sweet. Should be alright to handle now. So just come under the turret. Now we don't want to go too silly here because it is in shadow. Alright, something like that. Alright, cool. Alright, it's looking good. It's looking good. Yep. Fantastic, guys. It's going to be a very lovely looking tank. And just enough paint as well. Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. I'm going to stop right there. Stop right there. And I'll give you a look at this guy. Oh yeah, that's a sweet tiger. Panther. Right, you can see that pre-shading coming through. And you wait to see when we wash this guy out. Alright, cool. Now, let's take a look. I'm going to come in on this a little bit more. Maybe I might bring the camera up closer to it. I think I'll just take this off. Alright, so you can see here the tank. You can see I've got this subtle fall off. On the tanks there's those dark black areas there. Alright, so you can see the variation in the side panels on the wheels. Right, the front section which has this nice gradient on it. Right, but it's kind of subtle at the same time. Right, now after this step, we go through, we do a wash. Right, and then now we start camoing. Now when we wash this chat, it's going to darken this colour up quite a lot, which is good because that's what I want. I'll just put another light on it, just so you can see the pre-shading a little bit better. Alright, I'll take some photos as well. So don't worry about the tracks for now. Alright, see the back there, the different tones, up near the hatch, the black still coming through there. Alright, that's what you want. Alright, take some snaps. Alright guys, guess what? It's bonus round. So I'm that happy with this tank. I'm just going to continue a little bit more tutorial for you. Alright, sorry for the people who are bitching about them being too long, but I need the time for the tutorial. So, alright, it's time to add some washers to this tank, guys. I'm going to give it, like I usually do, a 3-layer wash. My first wash is going to be a brown wash for dark German camo. Right, I'm going to try that. Now, I've never used this before, guys, so like, it could be crap, it could be good. We'll just have to see if the gods favour us or not. So, we've also got tan for 3-tone camo as well. So that's when I put the camo on the top. It's gonna be, I'm gonna, once I camouflage it, I'll go do a second wash. So basically, here's the way it's gonna go, right? I'll tell you my pipeline right now, for those of you who wanna know. So I'll do this initial wash. This will just go on all over the model. Right, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and I will basically then go and put a camouflage on over the top. Then I will do an overall wash with the 3-tone camo wash, and then I will then do a precision wash with null oil black. Okay. Just bloody ad, I want my music. Alright. So hopefully this is good. It says it's for dark yellow. Now, I intentionally made this this yellow lighter, and it wasn't an accident. I did this on purpose so that when we washed over it, it would sort of retain some of its color, right? So the trick here is when you're going over a wash, what you want to do, you want to pump the contrast up a little bit on the model, so that way when you wash over it, it's more to the base tone. So I've just got a brush here. I'm just thinking about just using this one. It's just like a nice feathered brush there. Doesn't have a name. I'm thinking it's pretty big. I'm going to be wasting a lot of paint. What else have I got here handy? Actually, I might go with this one actually. So something like that. So, which is a little bit better. All right. So, all right, let's do it. Let's see how this is going to look. So, I could go just all over the model, just nuts, but I'm not going to do that. Like I said, I can get away with stuff like this for this because it's because it's a German tank, there's going to be a lot of battle damage on it, right? If this was like a Space Marine tank or something like that, I would not be able to do this. So let's start with the top part. Just get in that Zimmerit. Hopefully I could see that, yeah. And just go through, just give it a wash. Just wash it. Get in there with it. Now you can see here there's this nice brown tint, and this is gonna work really, really well. Alright, with the shading as well. So we could also water this down, which might work, but I think it should be fine. It's like really nice wash here. Get into that. Get into those cracks there, which is fantastic. Because I mean that's pretty much what created the tone, you know. It was the dirt. So I'm just going to go over it. Just go over the whole model. You know what? Stuff it, guys. I'm just gonna go for broke. Right, just get in those nice little cracks there. Right up on the top canopy, which is absolutely fantastic. Just wash it down. I don't mind if it's a little bit darker. Alright. Now, guys, just to let you know, this is not Games Workshop Adventures friendly kids paint. So don't basically put this stuff in your mouth. It's hardcore stuff. Alright. So I'm just going to go over, just wash the whole model in this. Alright, so it's going to be nice. Just packing it in there, the recesses. Want heaps in there. You can see how this is drying, right? It's just drying like super awesome. And we'll just get some of that dirt in here. Just let it build up around that canopy here. Alright. Just get like stack ton more in there because it's going to be like dirty there. Just like basically do it like a mad wash, and you can see the tones that it's putting out now. It's looking very fantastic. Now what we can do, we can actually just water this down as well, just to get rid of some of that top build up. So I've got to get water, so I'm just going to get some spit. Alright, beautiful. And I'm just going to sort of like work down this area here. Just push some of this over. Alright, because just to get it a little bit sort of less dark. Alright, but as you can see, it's really looking good. I'm really happy with it so far. It's working just as it should. And we just want to go all the way in here. Alright, just streak up the turret a bit here. Alright, get in those recesses. Alright, get in there, just pull it here. Okay, let's turn it around. Make sure we get in there. Bit more of the turret. Okay, now I'm just going to go through and just clean this turret section off just a little bit. I might just have to use this actually. Just get rid of that. There we go. Alright, because we want the turret to be sort of semi-cleanish. Alright, that's just the way it is. So I'll just go through and just get rid of some of that there. Alright, just up the top as well, I might just dab. This is just a wet cloth, people. Alright, wet cloth. I'm just going to just dab that bit there. Alright, just to have a little bit more of that yellow come through. Up on the top. Alright, there you go. Lovely. Probably a little bit more back here too. There we go. That's what I want. That's the effect I want, guys. It's perfect. And I'll just go wash a little bit more here. Now, at the moment, it doesn't really fuss me about in here. Like, I want it to be darker, but it doesn't have to be too crazy because I'm just going to go down. I'm going to add, like, what do you call it? Like, soil effects and stuff like that down there as well. So, That's really doing it. Don't worry about the MG42 right now. We're going to be going over that black anyway. You can go over if you want. Alright, so we'll let that turret sit. Now we're going to go onto the wheels. I'm just going to take this off. Take these parts off, okay, as well. Alright, just going to get a drink, guys. Alright, so got a lot of tutorial today, people. And you can see like how the pre-shading mixed in with the wash and all that, it just starts to add up, you know, guys, like it just starts to add up. Alright, so what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to go full on, full tilt into these wheels up the back because they're in shadow. Alright, so it doesn't matter, we get around just a little bit in here like that. Alright, there we go. It's looking pretty awesome. Just around those rims there. We're going to be colouring back over those anyway. In grey. Alright. So yeah, you can see that. It's just really... This wash is just really popping. Really popping. I can hear the screams of the Americana right now. Americana! Yeah, Germans rocking out with their Fanta. It was an interesting fact, I don't know if you know that, but Fanta was actually invented in Germany, World War II Germany, because the Germans didn't want German troops drinking Coke because it was too American. It's a bit unfortunate because Coke's pretty awesome, but yeah. So anyway, guys, let's have a look at that. Alright, it's looking pretty tops, right? See it all coming up. Let's take a look at the turret. Yeah. Alright. Let's continue on with the second set of wheels. Keeping the uniform. Just fill it up the back there. Remember, because we want this to be in shadow. So the back wheel's always going to get more love when it comes to this kind of stuff. Right, and I just cannot believe, I mean, these are these MIG paints, guys. This is a wash. Like, you look at the quality of this wash, guys. Right? Like, Games Workshop washers just would not be able to achieve this. Alright, like, I'm sorry, but they just would not be able to achieve this. Not to this detail. Yes, the pre-shading that I've done is helping a lot to blend it in, but even still, just watch the pooling there. Don't let it pool too much unevenly in there if you can avoid it. If you can't, it's not the end of the world. We don't have to worry about too much about the interior of this model. Make sure that when you're, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, just make sure lay them flat so it sort of just distributes evenly. All right. Now, the back of it, we're just going to go... I'm just going to go do the sides. Just go a little bit crazy here. On the sides, just in case, you know, like... And I'm just going to just pack it on, guys. Just up the back here. Because you're going to get so much dirt. So much build-up the back here. It's all going to be, like, in shadow and everything. And just the grime that we're going to add later... You know, from the tank going through the mud and everything, just literally just pull that crap on. You know, it's the back of the tank, you know. Alright, looking great. We're just gonna just smooth it out in here, even though we're not gonna see this. We'll just pack a few in there anyway. Right, so alright, just quickly just flip her over and just get some wash in here like that. Alright, might as well just do the back just quickly, just to keep it all uniform. It doesn't, like, guys, this does not matter at all because it's the bottom of the tank. No one's ever going to see it. So whenever you're painting stuff, just make sure, just always prioritize the top. Like, you'll notice that, you know, when I'm going through and I'm doing stuff, it's basically like I'm always paying extra attention to the top of the vehicle. All right, and just a bit more pooling here. Okay, cool. Just flip over, like no one gives a crap about the bottom. Alright. So yeah, you can see now how the tank has remained yellow, but it's just given that extra contrast to it, you know, like it's given that extra the oomph, you know. And we're gonna go through, we're gonna camo this, and it's gonna look freaking cherry, eh? It's already looking great. Alright, so here we go. So particular attention with the wash inside areas like these grills here. Alright, we really want to pack it on here. Sorry guys, you got to hear some Sydney CBD adventures on a Saturday night in the background there with sirens. I forgot to close the window, so usually I have it open when I'm airbrushing. Actually, I could probably close it now. I'll pull the cord out. That's going to get annoying. Alright, so keep moving. Keep putting that stuff on. So guys, I'm not going to stop the... Sorry about the siren, but I'm not going to stop the camera. We're doing too much of an epic job here. Just pull this up. It's the Gestapo. They're after me. Alright, so just cut sick here. Just pack it on, guys. Pack it on. So I love German tanks. Just any tanks, any World War II tanks, you just dump it on, just get it in there. Alright. Because there'd be so much grime and stuff built up the back here. Alright, make sure you get in there, get some really nice tones. And you'll see that the highlights that we put in before are really going to help, like, to pop through the shade. Okay, and we can even go, we can do a correction layer on top just to get a little bit more shade, but I don't want to. I want it dirty, I want it gritty. My Panthers are in action, right? So it's going to go through, just make sure I get under here thick, nice and thick, because there's going to be plenty of shadow here. So literally pack it on like that. Just pack it on. Alright, just get that shadow in there. Now we will be coming back with null oil as well, right, to do some of the more precise areas. Alright, and people often ask me, how do I avoid spilling my washes and my null oils? There are a few ways Adam Fox recommended as well, like, you know, glue tacking in, there's a few holders and stuff, but my honest to God recommendation is just to be careful, guys. Just be careful. Just have some thought in what you're doing. Alright, I'm just going to go through, just clean this up just a little bit. Just on some of the raised areas here. Watching that antenna. Okay, some of the areas that will be lighter. Alright. Get a little bit more variation here, maybe just across the top. Alright, and across the top here. These are just wet ones. They have a little bit of sort of cleaning fluid on them. So that's what's actually helping me to remove the wash. Alright, because we don't want it too dark. Like, we want to maintain that gradient that we work so hard to get in the pre-shading. Now, guys, have a look at that. Look at that, guys. Tell me that's not awesome. Tell me that is not worthy of the Reich. Alright, so cool. So be careful, I've got a little bit too much pooling here. Alright, so, and I just want to get like a little bit, just trace a line just in the middle. But don't be too crazy here, because we're going to go through and I'm going to put null oil in all these parts. This is like the final wash. We go in there, we do like all the fine details like in between it and everything. Alright, so, ooh, can't forget about this. But guys, you can just see the difference it makes. Like, it's just awesome, right? And that's what happens. Like, you know, I know there's people there bitching, oh, your video tutorials are so long. Guys, I'm sorry, but like models to this level, done to this level well, just take a long time to do. Alright, so it's really up to you, you know. If you want to go through and you want to have like tabletop standard models, then that's fine. You can have tabletop stand. I'm just wiping a little bit of wash off those front guards, just to give it a little bit more contrast. You can have tabletop standard models, but you want like models that are going to look awesome, and you be like, heck yeah, kind of stuff, then it's just going to take time, guys, alright? I'll just spray a little bit of that wash off here on the nozzle. It makes sense though that it'd be some. Oh yeah! Guys, look at that. Tell me that doesn't look epic, alright? Go on, all the haters in the comments, come out and just try it on, guys. Alright, so. Alright. Kenny Boucher is a choir boy compared to me, guys. So, alright. Just rocking it out. Just putting this turret on, and I'm gonna leave it to dry. I'm just gonna smooth this out a bit because I touched it, but that's fine. I want a little bit of variation. I'm good with that. Alright. Just more here. Alright. Absolutely fantastic. You just see the levels, guys. See the levels. Alright, cool. And I'll just pop this on top. Alright, pack that in there. Gonna let this dry for a while. I need to do these side panels before I forget. Alright, so the trick here, I'm just gonna go over these really quickly. Again, this is the first wash. Alright, it's not the finite wash. So I'm not gonna worry about getting in these little cracks right now. All I need to do is just pack it on like so, right? I want to streak up and down, right? Because that's generally the way that the grime would accumulate on the tank. Alright, don't want to do little swirls and things like that. You just want to keep it on, just keep moving it forward. Keep moving it forward. Hopefully you can see it on the camera. Alright, and then just go over it again. Alright, once it's done, very quickly, get your cloth, bit of water on it, damp cloth, just dab it. Alright, so just dab it in there, in the middle. Dab it in the middle of all these. Alright, now this is so we keep... Oh, that's a bit of a mistake. That's alright, not a mistake though. Okay, so that's so we keep that gradient on the piece, but we tone it, right? And we get this gradient in the gaps here as well. And we'll come back in with null oil later and correct that. Alright, so, and we can see with our pre-shading, right, our pre-shading is still in effect here, guys. Alright, if my camera wants to freaking focus. So you can see we've got those lighter areas still up the top, all coming in from the pre-shading. And then we've got these darker areas coming through now, alright? So I'm going to get the next one. Now, we will lose a little bit of this in the camouflage, like when we put the camouflage on. But then we're gonna wash it again, right? So, like I said, it's a few. There are a few tips, a few tricks to doing this. All right. So once again, just working my way down the model. Just checking the camera there, guys. Make sure I'm actually filming this stuff. All right. So just work it down, little strokes, downwards action. Alright, doesn't have to be perfect, guys. It's a tank. So, guys, I want you to think about like the stuff you could do on a Bane blade with this thing, right? Alright. Go through. I'm just going to put the lid on this because I don't want any issues. Alright, and now get my little thing, and again, once again, just dab in the middle. Wipe a little bit off in the middle. Alright, just get rid of that middle grime. Alright, just to bring it back to its like normal base color as best as you can. Now you can see here on this panel, I wasn't as careful with the streaking up and down, so you can see I've got a little bit of artifacting there, but that's okay. I'm quick enough to get it, so I could just wipe it off. All right, but I did it on purpose, guys, because I just wanted to show you what happens on the model if you don't get to it quickly, and a little bit of variance is fine. All right, so let's just start putting this on. I'm going to leave this now, guys, I think, because it needs to dry. This is going to be very careful. I'm not going to touch it because this is where fingerprints and stuff can be very, very hazardous right now. When you have like half-dried washers and things like that as well. And, you've got this awesome model, and then you just start having fingerprints and stuff. So at this point, guys, just leave it. Alright, it's a bit of spit there, just to clean that up a bit, okay. Stuffed it up a bit, alright. But there would be a little bit more grime there anyway, alright, so fantastic, okay. So what I'll do, I'll go through and I'll let that dry for a few minutes. I'll come back, take some photos, do a quick turntable of it, and it should be good. Awesome, guys. Alright, guys. So unfortunately, the wash is still drying. So I'll just have to show you why it's a little bit glossy and wet still. But this is our first stage wash. So you can see that contrast there from our pre-shading. Right, on the panels, on the wheels, on the front. Very subtle now, yeah? I'll just turn the mains off. Look at that. And guys, we're not even get started yet. This is the first wash. This is a base coat, guys. You wait and see. Almost looks like a king tiger from that angle. Awesome. Yeah. Alright guys, Steve, Command Centre Wargaming. If you'd like to see here, subscribe to the channel. If you want me to keep going with this tutorial, let me know in the comments. If not, I'll just move on to something else and just finish this in my own time. I hope the stuff here that I've shown you has been of some assistance somehow. Alright everybody, take care, see you in the next video.